KRM Office 552130 August 2021. This crap is over, is closed, is finished. We kind of citizen expecting the international responsiveness against the organized crime inside institutions. We observe that the last thing we could check and confirm is that at the electoral period 2020 America, the Secretary of Justice has a speech saying that the failure was not a big failure. But according with ordinary least square, which is economical model for an econometrical model, this small failure compile working sets a big problem. And we observe that we had the Operation Third Wind at the 90s, the 80s, or something like this about overprice, reviewed as price pricing scam, and points to that Jean Baptiste say as economical theories which the supply can create a demand or the demand can create the supply, and this gives an extra idea which is the idea as regulatory and trust based on system of exploitation, and sometimes the combination as trust, which is a criminal economical model combined with misusage of institutional prerogative and regulatory, as observed in Brazil in many times, considering, for instance, the case Ford Motors at the labor and decisions at the labor justice system. And this is about organized crime, white collar crime. On Africa, we had the cyber crime and the review by the Interpol Project Connect. We believe at this, we believe at that effort, and we really believe that this independent academic research, which was offered in Brazil but considered a big bullshit, could help this, and indeed we had a big success one more time. Then the cybercrime is another piece of the organized crime. In an international system, both transnational organized crime by the interconnection as flow, financial as flow, communication as financial registry, which points to transfers around, forming in centers of investment. We can understand the behavior as global economy, right? Right. Then we observe that on present time we had a lot of problems considering here the scrap area Brazil that indeed you kind of set a violation inside the institution which can be a provider of a cell phone or communication, whatever. Here is your corporate peer. Here you have the public array as institutions, but with a failure in the same way, and another one which has the entrance inside this area here, public as a bubble. And this is a scam named nepotism. I will come a little bit closer. This nepotism indeed will allow to have transference from the public treasury by one instrument to get this by registry named budget. And we had failures period 2012-21 at least. Some transference by this public structure as institution fulfilled by nepotism as preference associated with budget with misusage of prerogative to have transference by pricing scam is the object under the review. International area, international review. And my corporate peer now associated with will have a bubble inside. And this bubble inside indeed is receiving this money. But if I cut this money, this bubble will probably absorb part of this square company, and I will have another bubble or a small square unit, you know? And this company here is now under a bankruptcy or something like this. If my employees, which are part of this bubble scam linked with decide to have claim their right or something at the justice because won't have enough money to pay them, this company is terminated, is over. This was the complaint argument at the Ford Motors USA in Brazil, but you can request with them. Another situation is, in general, we could observe that I have my local access as network. I have my local access as network. And this local access had a higher level, which is the, world access as network. And I have an interface here, which is the provider of this signal. And looks like that inside my local access, I will have, houses. In each one of those houses, I will have instruments connected. And you, in general, are kind of having, little by little, the transference of information expertise from the structure as provider of communication, setting a new level here. And this new level in a specific moment can switch patterns as transference of my provider, especially if I have the association and once in a while this provider is inside this area. This can happen at the communication, can happen at your bank, can happen with any provider with internal failures with a structural behavior acting as a functionality inside this sector that will be combined with others failures as functionality in other sectors, and this will happen in other conjuncture, and we are having the clandestine organization as a physiological scam. And if you now can have this, for instance, if this provider giving the signal from one very specific area at the hood, and after you have this, indeed, you will probably have the origination of my signal at the clandestine area and will switch the value, putting, the company or something like this in a terrible situation, having the increasement as perception of failures, and this will straight impact my local access as network, which has an origination and will change the instrument as router that is offered by this company and will affect each one of those machines at my house, for instance. And we are having now the collective data from the local access diverting the transference as circuit to the clandestine spot because indeed we had a structure, raised during all this period by silence. In Brazil, this is an Article 13 of our criminal law, you know, and if it's related with advantage, even if these advantages do not suffer the international consequence, from the American Justice Against You criminal offender in Brazil that will be sent to jail in the United States, we had the law 12,850. You know, this is the idea and an advice to these provider of communication consider have a plea bargain with international law enforcement and the Federal Bureau of Investigation that has an office on capital city, Brazil. Have a nice day. I mean, week.